We'll be right back. Now, Monday, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was inaugurated as Nigeria's president, kicking straight into action. A confirmation of the full subsidy has, however, turned the country into a pensive mode and has caused chaos around the nation. Increase in fuel prices got Nigerians talking and lamenting, and important decisions in monetary and fiscal policies are also expected to be taken. The Tinubu administration is on a dramatic start, and the coming days are expected to see key appointments and decisions while Nigerians expect a significantly better country. Joining me tonight to analyze the outlook for the Tinubu presidency and what we've witnessed so far is Adewole Adebayo, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party at the 2023 general elections. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Adebayo, and thanks for joining us in Politics HQ.
It's a pleasure to be here. And how are you doing?
Now, Mr. Adebayo, I'd like to start by asking that your party, the Social Democratic Party, you were their flag bearer in the presidential elections. They did not file any petition to oppose the results of the presidential elections that brought in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Does it imply that you're satisfied with the conduct of INEC and the elections in general? What's your overview of the elections that brought in the Tinubu administration?
In all our communication, we've explained our position that we were not happy with the election. We were not well treated. The result that was given to us did not reflect the actual vote cast in our favor. But someone has emerged, and for the smooth transfer of power, we recognize that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president now, is taking the oath of office, and we engage with them. And of course, we continue to talk about the problems facing our electoral system. But by and large, we've decided to move on, and let's come back and take other measures to try to correct our electoral system, to correct the behavior of political parties, to reform INEC massively, and to let Nigerian people know that they need to show more commitment to the electoral process, so that the idea of people trying to sell their votes, people trying to do violence, and people trying to cheat, all of these things will be put to rest. So that's where we are. And we didn't think that the solutions that we had to all these election problems can be resolved by the court, because the court is a very technical place. And when you get to the court will be talking about law and legal procedure. The problems are political and behavioral in nature.
President Tinubu assumes office. What key policy areas do you expect him to prioritize, and why? And how do you anticipate his presidency will differ from previous administrations?
I don't know what he would do, but I know what he said he would do. And anyone who wants to be an analyst or a commentator or an expert in Tinubu presidency should study his Renewed Hope document. Yes, and it's Renewed Hope. He has a manifesto titled Renewed Hope. I had a manifesto of the SDP, which we call Hope Again 2023, but his own is Renewed Hope. And it's in that document that he said he was going to remove fuel subsidy unconditionally and permanently. And many of the things that he said would do with respect to the exchange rate, with respect to fiscal policy, and many of the things that he's doing now, they are contained there. So the way he has started, it means that he's going to now implement what is in that document of Renewed Hope. So anyone who wants to anticipate what Tinubu might do should better study that document. Then you can understand why I opposed it while we had our own program, but the election is over. They have made the case, and the Nigerian people have voted for Tinubu as president, and he has the right now to say to do what he said he would do without being obstructed in doing it. So that's why I don't want to bring out all my disagreements with his programs, because the people have sanctioned them by voting for him. And now let him demonstrate it so that Nigerian people can understand that elections have consequences. And then when we are talking, then they can compare. For example, on the issue of subsidy, we said we're going to keep the subsidy. Bola Tinubu of APC said he will remove subsidy immediately. Atiku Abubakar of PDP said he will remove subsidy immediately. Peter Obi of Labour Party said he will remove subsidy immediately. And we said we will not.
I'm happy you mentioned that subject of subsidy. The recent fuel subsidy removal has sparked a public debate. President Tinubu's stance is that subsidy has to go, as it said in his inaugural speech, and we've seen the consequences of that. You said your party, the SDP, took a different take on it. So why are you against the removal of fuel subsidy?
We made all the arguments during the campaign. I told you you have problems with making a living. You have problem with the pricing of other cost of production. You would have hyperinflation. Your salary will not be enough, and there will be industrial discomfort, because people would ask their employers to pay more money as salaries, wages, and emolument. And this money is going to come from where? So once you raise the cost of a cost driver like that, it will drive other costs. But the Nigerian people understood me, I believe, because I had many interviews with the media. We had a debate on the matter, and we were questioned thoroughly. So by voting for these three parties who uniformly said they were going to remove subsidy, and one of the parties is now the one occupying the presidency and is doing what he told the people he would do, it will be quixotic and antiquated for me to be raising the issue. It's just anyone can just go on YouTube. They can go and search Google and see and hear and read what I said would happen and compare to what is happening now. And then you would wait for what Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President Tinubu, said the removal of subsidy will offer you in the long run. And that long run will end in 4 years. And at that time, I'm now open again to discuss the issue of subsidy, because then we'll see the evidence and people will know whether I was right or they were right.
Now, Mr. Adebayo, in the president's inaugural speech, he did give a sort of olive branch to the opposition, and he said, you know, the task of building Nigeria is a collective effort, and looking at what has happened now, how best can the government mitigate the sufferings and alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians following this, the removal of the fuel subsidy? What advice do you have for the federal government?
Well, they can go and check my Hope Again document, and you'll see what they should do there. But what I can say immediately, showing empathy to the people, is, and I believe that they too should know these things. It's a question whether they want to do it or not. I suspect that many of the things I will tell them now are things that they should know already, but whether they have the political will to do it or not, because it's going to cost them to invest a lot of that money in the interest of the people in the social sector. One is that it should be optional for any low or middle income person, whether they want to drive a car or not. As it is now, it is almost impossible to rely on public transportation. So people just have to, anybody who starts working within a few years, they're aiming to buy a car. Whereas if you were in London or New York or some other cities, the public transport system is available for you. So you can get from home to work, school buses will pick your children. And so you you drive your car only on weekends if only you want to have a car at all. And some people can live for years without having a car. We must create an atmosphere like that, just like Jack and they did in Lagos in the 80s, have these buses. And if you can introduce these buses, I've seen samples of some electric buses in
Yes.
Lagos. So instead of having them in sample, if you host city, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Kano, Ondo, all the major big cities, if they have these buses, then and they're in good condition, then people will say, well, I don't really have to buy petrol. I put in my car. If you also give public servants a package where they can use their ID card, or you give them a special rate card, which they can use to enter multimodal transportation. So that will help people. They can get to work, get to school, get to other places. So we must generally improve public transportation so that it's only if you want to be on your own that you need to get a car.
But shouldn't these policies, shouldn't they have been put before the removal of the subsidy? Because it's almost like we're in a cart before the horse situation here.
For those who agree that subsidy should be removed, they did not ask the government that condition, because Bola Tinubu, when he was contesting, said, I will remove subsidy immediately. Mr. Peter Obi of Labour Party said he will remove subsidy on day one. And I think Atiku Abubakar is not far from that. He said we will remove subsidy immediately. So the word right away, immediately, day one, you can't put all of these things on day one. And the Nigerian people did not disagree with them on that. So it's a fact of life. In any case, the policy has come now. It's too late. And you need to recall that the previous government of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, had already laid the foundation in 2021 when they passed the Petroleum Industry Act and said subsidy is now unlawful. And when they did 2023 Appropriation Act and said subsidy will end June 30. So with that in mind, there's anything you can do about long-term planning. You can only react after. So there's basically, it's like you are expecting a guest. You are expected to make an accommodation, feeding, everything available before the guest arrives. But if the guest has already arrived, you cannot unarrive the guest and say, go back, let me do this. You have to do it after the arrival. The important thing is that you do it.
Now we have to see what the next few weeks and months offer and how Nigerians adjust to this new regime. Now, Mr. Adebayo, about 13 million Nigerians did not vote for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's governing over a highly divided nation. Now, in order to foster national unity, what specific steps would you advise the president to take to address the diverse socio, political and ethnic dynamics in Nigeria? Nigeria is a very complex country. And are there initiatives or policies that it could implement to promote inclusivity and reduce polarization?
Okay, first and foremost, we need to look at these comparative numbers. Before you go to how many people didn't vote for the president, go back to how many people didn't vote at all. We had 87 million or so voters, and about 60 million or so did not come out. So that is, those people, it looks like they are voting against all of us, 18 of us who ran. Because if none of us is able to move them to come and vote, they are already alienated. So that's number one. So it's not a question of whether the winner got more votes than he lost. The issue is that there is some problem of apathy. There's a problem of disconnection between the voting public and the political class. And I think part of it would be that we need to address issues that pertain to the people. Now, for the president, he has enough experience and he understands the country. And if you look at the plurality of his vote, he got more votes than any other person, and he got more votes in all other regions than the next person. So there's no part of the country where he didn't get some vote one way or the other. So, and then if in the course of the campaign, when we were running, almost everywhere I went, at least I saw somebody representing him. So the issue is this. Don't pay too much attention on trying to unify and all of that. Just solve the problems of Nigerians. We have certain common problems. For example, when this subsidy removal hit, the fuel scarcity, the rush to buy the fuel, the panic is nationwide. It's not regional.
Exactly.
When we are dealing with
and it's not also along religious lines. Yes.
It's not. So if you address our problems, the tension will come down. Then you will decide what to do with respect to the politicians. But if you spend too much of your time trying to reconcile politicians, you are actually doing an elitist reconciliation that does not address the question of the man who is hungry or the woman who needs money to open a shop somewhere. So you want to make sure that it's not a question of because you want to be broad-based, then you are talking of how to make me a minister, how to make Peter Obi a minister, how to make somebody else. No, that's not how I recommend somebody to settle down. Just take these cross-cutting problems that are across the country, address the problem of education, of housing, of unemployment, of inflation, of security, and of general infrastructure. So people will be happy, and then the issue will go away. But if you just have a broad base, you call all the 18 political parties together, you call all the Hanese, Afenifere, Arewa Constitute Forum, and you are doing at that top level, and you leave the people behind, and you don't address their issues, you will still not, you have more people coming on TV to speak on your behalf and say you're a nice guy, but the average person will say the government has not served them. So
they're not feeling the effect. Yes. Now, Mr. Adebayo, you did talk about a huge population of Nigerians that, like you rightly said, voted against all 18 presidential candidates. They make up a significant portion of the population, and a lot of them are young Nigerians. The youth population in Nigeria has been very vocal about their aspirations for change and greater inclusion. I mean, the word Japa is now in our political lexicon. Quite a lot of them have checked out of the country. How do you anticipate President Tinubu's administration would engage and empower young Nigerians, this very important demography, to address their concerns and harness their potential? A lot of them are disenchanted, and so many people, if you go to visa offices, there's almost a mammoth crowd there on a daily basis. They're looking for the next flight out of the country. So how do you address the issue of young Nigerians?
Okay, number one, I don't know what President Tinubu will do, but he has programs in his renewed hope document. I'm always slow because I tend to go to my own document, hope again. So if you see me get it, I just want to make sure I don't end up going back
and
to
the
my
hope is a common word between your manifesto and the president. Yes.
Yeah, I know we had this drama where we were saying that where the press was laughing at them for copying us. So what I'm saying basically is that I don't know what he would do, but I know what he said he would do. What he said he would do, if he does them, would occupy the youth, would get them employment. It would get them employment. You know, this word Agbado that people call it arose from
50 million youths in the army. They eat cassava.
Yes, Agbado. So he has programs for that. And also, I don't know whether he will follow you or not, he knows that majority of Nigerian youth are not on Twitter. Majority of Nigerian youth are not trying to japa, because if majority of Nigerian youth cannot afford to japa, they cannot afford to travel from Birnin Kebbi to Kano. So not talk of, so if you're already thinking of how to japa, how to get a passport, how to go to an embassy and run away, you are an elite youth. The average youth of Nigeria is a typical Almajiri, is a motor boy somewhere in the Ogbete market, in Enugu, is either in Ibadan as a vulcanizer or apprentice, a vulcanizer, or hairdresser, or somebody. who's on the farm. So that's where you find the average Nigerian youth. So, and I always tell our young people to understand.
Thank you very much for clarifying that, because a lot of young Nigerians, based on their environment, tend to make that mistake that, you know, the average Nigerian looks like
actually, the way the elite is 1%, the comfortable elite like you and me, the way we are 1% of the population, that's how those who are on Twitter, all these Japa, NSAS, all these young people, they are all just also 1%. So the program that you would have, you are likely to see a youth to be a houseboy or house girl than for the youth to be a physicist or somebody working in the digital industry. So we need to invest more in making sure that we take the 20-something million kids that are out of school, put them in school. We do all the things we need to do to see that when you're on Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos, you don't find young people running after you, trying to sell one widget or the other, and running after the vehicles all over. And if you go across Nigeria, you go to Kaduna, people want to sell kilishi to you on the highway. If you go to Port Harcourt, people want to sell you pure water, wherever you go. So once you don't see all of those kids on the street, then you know that the administration is attending to the youth. And once you see that government offices are now opening up, and you can go and apply for a job without having to take a note from a minister or assembly member or anybody, then you know it's addressing the youth. Once you see that ASU doesn't go on strike, and that more students who apply for to JAM to enter university, that once you meet the cutoff mark, all of you will be admitted. Then you know that we're not rationing spaces for them anymore. Once you see that you are investing in bandwidth technology and you have cheaper access to internet and faster 5G, 6G internet, then you know that you are investing. Once you start to put your priority on investment in creative arts, in sports, in entertainment, so you will see, if you are a new central and the federal government sends 1,000 youths to you for media training, and they are paying them, and they are also paying you to train them, then you know they are investing in the youth. Those are the things. It's not about doing a concert with the youth, or, you know, because the youth get confused sometimes about which politician or political leader is on their side. If somebody wears a T-shirt and say Buga, Buga, and all of these things, and does all these things, and gets some influencers to tweet on their behalf, you would think, oh, they love the youth. To show love for the youth.
And these are intangibles. Yes.
Have to invest in the interest of the youth. So those are the things that you would know. I hope he does them. I'll keep reminding him. But 4 years is a short time. And I always tell them, if you don't run your administration well, people now know that there is the SDP there. I will have all these programs.
Exactly.
So when next election comes, we will say, you guys, you see, 4 years ago, maybe you didn't know, but you can see, if you are not happy, we are here. If you're happy, continue with them. So those are the options that they will have, but we'll keep reminding them, because we want to make sure that the government succeeds. My prayers is that President Tinubu becomes the best president we've ever had. It doesn't mean that in 4 years' time, I would not want to beat him, but it will be better for the country if he succeeds, far better than all the presidents who have ever been there. And there's no reason why he should not. He has a very good environment. He has already started with low expectation. Now, if he's taking decisive actions, whether I agree with them or not, if he's taking the actions that are consistent with what he said he was going to do, I will excuse him, because I have a belief that if people didn't want these big political parties to implement their programs, they would not have given them such an overwhelming mandate, whereby 90% of the votes went to the top 3 political parties. It shows that the people understood them.
Okay. Now, just before we wrap up our conversation, Mr. Adebayo, let's look at some other matters. Looking at Nigeria's current economic realities, the country is in need of a lot of money. And Senator Shekarau suggests reducing the number of members in the House of Representatives and Senate to cut costs. What specific steps would need to be taken to implement this proposal, or do you think it's just flying a kite? What challenges might arise in the process? Is it a possibility?
You see, these are cosmetic changes. Nothing stops Shekarau talking to his party members, and they will voluntarily relinquish their salaries. But it cannot be the law. When I was running for president, I told everybody that I would not receive salaries, and I would not even use government vehicles. Maybe because I have the means by which I can take care of myself, but I believe that many people who are high in government have that means. So you can volunteer if you want to volunteer. But the establishment cost is not what is killing. It is the corruption. So if a person says, I am going to reduce my salary by half, but they increase their stealing 3 times, what have you gained?
It's counterproductive.
So you've gained nothing. Exactly, so you've gained nothing. So what is more important is that, one, we must grow the revenue, and there are 2 ways to grow the revenue. If you collect the revenue and put the revenue inside the book, Nigeria will not even have such an alarming revenue profile. So even the revenue we are entitled to collect, because custom collects trillions, inland revenue collects trillions, port authority collects trillions, maritime authority collects trillions, several billions, hundreds of billions collected by aviation authorities. And there are so many other areas where money comes in the gas subsector of the petroleum industry, crude loss. If you reduce the crude loss or eliminate it, it will take care of your needs and all of that. So if people are acting on behalf of the treasury, are faithful to the treasury, if they have the level of faithfulness that Adewole had when he was finance minister, and Clement Eason had when he was governor of Central Bank, if you have that level of fidelity to the state, and you are not giving tax waivers to all your friends, and you're not giving them duty waivers at the port, you're not trying to cheat the system, a lot of revenue will come. And some of the concessions that they are making, you have to stop concessioning government entities to private hands. The person who set up News Central went to the government and collected a license. He wasn't waiting for the government to sell NTA to him. So you shouldn't
by
be selling
doing that,
government.
we keep shortchanging ourselves, and there's quite a lot to still discuss, Mr. Adebayo. I'm afraid we've run out of time. Mr. Adebayo, I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Adewole Adebayo, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, in the 2023 presidential elections. I do appreciate your insight, your time and contribution. Thank you.